Now, speaking of somebody pickable and someone beautiful and someone who is doing amazing things in this world, let's head over to our very own roving reporter, Jill Olish.
Thanks, Kim and Carrie. This is Jill coming to you as a roving reporter for Good Morning Entrepreneurs with unique solutions for mama entrepreneurs. I wanted to bring up today routines and being flexible because it's something that I just had to be this weekend and a little bit last week too. The biggest thing I think learning when I became a mom and an entrepreneur at the same time was giving up the control I needed to have over my schedule and being able to go with the flow and being flexible with what was being presented around me and what I needed to get done. I was a very strict person on schedules back before I made the switch to being a mom and an entrepreneur because I was big into having a 9 to 5. I get very upset when things don't go as how I plan them. But since having a baby and this new way of life as an entrepreneur, I've become a lot more flexible. So that's where we ended up adopting the routine. Sometimes you need to have more of a schedule where you're available certain times or where you're working in a team with different hours, and that schedule is going to be shifted a little bit. But while you are in work hours, you can have a routine set up, just like you do at home, maybe for a morning or an evening routine. The biggest part of routine that we have found that works for us is following our son's routine. One of the best things that we figured out is learning a pattern. Know when I do this, what happens after that? Being aware and recognizing those signs allows you to notice a pattern. And once you learn that pattern, you can start attributing it to a time. I know my pattern of what I can get done in this time frame. And that's what had happened this past week is in preparation for producing the show. We go to school and I must have caught the teacher while she was not in the room. I had waited as long as I could. I had this pressure that, oh my gosh, how am I going to help produce the show with him here? He is a very hands-on child, and I was able to keep him kind of mellow and quiet by just sitting with me in the chair and helping me push buttons. We got things done because we work with flexibility and no pressure, and that's one of the best things about being an entrepreneur is you're working on your time, and it really is the stuff that you want to do when you can fit it into what timing works for you. And routines, I feel, is the best way to make all of that magic happen in your business and in your life as being a mom or even a grandparent now. If you're watching kiddos and trying to get work done as well, it's the easiest way that you can make the needle move while still getting things done and not feeling the pressure of having things done by a certain time. So I hope that helps everybody get a little bit more flexibility in their day and opens up your eyes to having a routine or a pattern versus being on a timed schedule. And I'll hand it back to you, Kim and Carrie.
Oh my goodness. Thanks, Jill. Carrie, I had the privilege of hearing the entire segment that she produced. And she's got so many little nuggets of gold in there for mamas in particular. Parents, grandparents can benefit, but she told a couple different stories of and examples of what she had to adjust in her schedule because like we have some deadlines, but she's an amazing little mama, an amazing entrepreneur doing all kinds of things behind the scenes here.
And Kim, I'd like to brag on Jill for a moment because I remember just a few years ago when I had my daughter at that age, I could not do what Jill does. It's like superwoman, like crazy. Like I can't imagine juggling, a small child and work at the same time. So I take my hat off every single day to Jill and all the other mums out there that are actually working and having small children, especially at home, because that's got to be so challenging.
I think Jill is living proof that you can do things in a different way. Like, even if you're wired to be intense, we'll call her, you still can, chillax a little bit and get that place of, you know, the less pressure, I'm just going to call it. And I think she's an amazing example of doing that. I also want to say that we are working behind the scenes, and I think it's important for everybody to know that this is messy. We are doing this along the way. We didn't come into this perfect, but we will be having the full things, not just the highlights, for everybody to go back and watch soon.